People that are scared to be in the game get pulled right out. You go in, then you're out. That's simple. Good morning. Welcome to the episode of Hard Foul Radio. Appreciate you for spending some time here with us today. This is the show that values time. I value mine. You should value yours. So I appreciate you spending some of that value time here with me today. Let's get started. Very rarely do I think you can look at one thing and say, this is the reason why a team lost. This is the reason why a team won. Fans do that a lot. Quarterback throws an interception in the fourth quarter and then you go, oh, see, that's the reason we lost. No, you probably lost because you couldn't build a big enough lead in the first three quarters, or you played like crap in the first half. There's usually a lot of different factors that go into actually winning or losing. Football game, basketball game, baseball game. Your closer in baseball doesn't necessarily blow it. You just couldn't get a big enough lead or do enough innings 1 through 8, put him in a situation where he was not able to make up for what you couldn't do the previous 8 innings. Guy misses the last second shot. Oh, that's why we lost. No, you lost because you couldn't score enough quarters 1 through 4 up until that last shot. Then there's the Sixers and Hawks series, which I've watched very closely. Watched pretty much every minute of every game outside of I didn't get to catch most of the first half of game 6. And I was really trying to think. Everyone's going to blame Ben Simmons, but is there more to it than just blaming Ben Simmons? You can't just look at one thing and go, oh, that's why we lost. And I couldn't find it. I tried really hard to look and find and see, like, okay, maybe there's something else to this besides just, oh, Ben Simmons wasn't playing well. But no, it was quite as simple as Ben Simmons wasn't playing well. Not only was Ben Simmons not playing well, he wasn't aggressive at all. He got highlighted dramatically in that fourth quarter, which, by the way, he went 0 for 0 the last 4 games in the fourth quarter. Think about that. 0 for 0 in the fourth quarter. How do you not take a shot for 4 fourth quarters? This is a dude who is a number 1 pick, great prospect coming out of high school, goes to LSU, everybody knows him, has a great freshman year at LSU, then gets drafted as number 1 pick. Those kind of guys, to not have the confidence to shoot is insane. So besides him going 0 for 0, he has a possible shot attempt. He gets the ball on the post, backs down the defender, does a spin move, and is wide open dunk. Wide open dunk. Maybe he gets fouled, but fine. And he goes up and he passes the ball to a guy who does not have as easy a shot and is 6 inches shorter than him. Trae Young did not play well in Game 7. No one from Atlanta really played great in Game 7 except for Herter. And with that, Trae Young still went 5 of 23, but he was willing to shoot. Even though he was missing, Philadelphia had to defend him the entire game. At no point did Philadelphia just go, oh, Trae Young's got the ball. All right, we don't care. Just let him shoot. That was never a thought process. That was never an idea. That was never a viable plan for the Sixers. Meanwhile, for the Hawks, who cares if Ben Simmons has the ball? Right now, we're more worried about Seth Curry coming off the bench. By the way, Seth Curry finished the game. Ben Simmons ended the game on the bench. Ben's going to get killed all day today in sports media, and I don't really have a lot of angles to defend him. I grew up, and I'm much more a fan of guys taking the last shot, or at least looking like they're trying, even if they have a terrible fourth quarter. I would rather Ben Simmons go 0 for 8 in the fourth quarter. Shaq said it in the pregame. He's like, you need to be aggressive. It doesn't matter what's going on. Like, you can miss shots. You can miss free throws. That's fine. But you can't be such a liability that the other team knows you don't want to shoot. When you play even in like a high school summer league type of situation, starting out as a freshman, the coach usually play everybody the first 1 or 2 games. One of the first things they're going to look for is who is scared to be in the game. People that are scared to be in the game get pulled right out. You go in, then you're out. That's simple. Because if you're too scared to shoot, you're too scared to be in the actual game, the rhythm of the game, why are you in there? No one's taking you seriously. No one's considering you a threat. What are you doing? Ben Simmons, essentially the entire series, I can forgive the shooting terribly from the free throw line. I can look past that. There's guys who have shot terrible from the free throw line before. That's nothing new. And Ben Simmons is not a good free throw shooter. Yes, do you need to improve on it, get better? Fine. But I can look past the being bad at the free throw line. But to not be aggressive at all and to just be a complete liability. A guy who, yes, you're great defensively. Yes, you can pass the ball. But you're not as good a passer if people know all you're trying to do is pass. This is one of the things Rondo picked up later in his career. When he first came into the league and he was with the Celtics, he was essentially just a passer. Now, he was passing to 3 Hall of Famers, so it made it a little bit easier for him. But Rondo didn't start to become an all-star or the Rondo that we knew to appreciate until Rondo started scoring, driving to the basket. He became more aggressive because he became more than a passer. Ben Simmons might as well have been Reggie Evans with court vision on the court. So normally you can't blame everything on one thing. It's usually more complicated than that. But Ben Simmons' pure lack of aggressiveness, pure lack of ability to do anything besides pass the ball and play. And really his defense was even just okay in this series. That's why the Sixers lost. Even Joel Embiid after the game, how do you put it when you have an open shot and all you hit is one free throw? What do? Moving on from that series to our other Game 7. By the way, 2 excellent Game 7s for the most part, excluding Ben Simmons' non-aggressiveness. Brooklyn, Milwaukee, Saturday night. Fantastic game. Kevin Durant is really good, man. Kevin Durant is really good at the game of basketball. I don't know if people really appreciate how great he is. Obviously, his storyline has been changed from when he came up with the Thunder, and it was that homegrown team, Tim winning the MVP and telling his mom you're the real MVP, to then becoming a quote-unquote villain of the league, going to Golden State, and Golden State being unstoppable for 2 years, and really would have been unstoppable for a third year, but unfortunately had a bunch of injuries going to the finals. Can we now officially understand how hard it is to win a title, even if you're the best player on the court? Durant was the best player on the court this whole series. Don't think anyone denies that. Harden, if he was healthy, might have been the second best player on the court, but Harden wasn't healthy, so he was playing a lot of minutes, but not really being that productive. Durant was the best player on the court, gave you a full game performance, 48 minutes in Game 5, and then played a full 40 minutes plus overtime in Game 7. Best player on the court. Still couldn't beat the team of Milwaukee with Giannis, regardless of how you feel about him or his skill set, was still giving a 30-plus points, 15-plus rebounds. Brook Lopez, Drew Holiday, Chris Middleton had a fantastic series. Holiday and Lopez honestly just did enough to not lose the series for him. The bench guys came in and gave him help. The Nets, this is the risk they ran with Kevin Durant, who was everything could have asked for more. Harden, who has normally not had great playoff success. This year, unfortunately, was due to the fact he was injured. And Kyrie, who it's hit and miss what Kyrie you get. And Kyrie's had injury issues. He has had his own personal decisions that have taken him off the court before. It's hit and miss what Kyrie Irving you get. So the Nets were a high-risk, high-reward team. And this is the high-risk end of it, which is one of the 3 were there in Game 7 when it really mattered. And that wasn't enough to beat Milwaukee. But Durant, who was clearly the best player, still couldn't get out of the second round. LeBron James, who's still the best player in the world, couldn't get out of the first round. The teams that are in the conference finals, the Clippers are in there without their best player, Kawhi Leonard. The Suns have gotten there with their best player, who actually should be Devin Booker, but are led by a 36-year-old Chris Paul, and are team concept and team oriented. They don't got one of the 3 or 4 best players in the world. They don't got one of the 5 to 10 best players in the world. Philly, who had Joel Embiid, who was the best player on the court, knocked out in the second round by a better team, the Hawks. And don't say Trae Young was their star. Trae Young played like ass in Game 7. Herter, Capella, these guys, there's a big reason why Atlanta won. Just being the best player on the court, while it does have a huge impact, is not guaranteeing you a title, is not guaranteeing you even getting out of the second round of the playoffs. But these guys should not be dinged for it. Durant was phenomenal, especially coming off an ACL. Like, we've known for the better part of the last decade that there's a gap between LeBron and the second best guy. Then these last couple of years of there's a small gap now between him and Durant. But now there is a massive gap between Durant and everybody else. Because Giannis, I think, is one of the 5 to 6 best players in the league. And there is a massive gap between Durant and Giannis. Massive. We're not here to kill Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant played amazingly. Just because you're the best player does not mean that there is this entitlement that you have to get there. It's just appreciate what we saw. Kevin Durant is phenomenal. Kevin Durant is amazing.